right. Hello, and thank you for joining us for today's virtual education program at Cancer Support Committee South Bay. I'm Rebecca, the program manager, and I welcome you to this workshop titled Thriving Again, the Value of an Everyday Moment. Before we begin, if this is your first time joining us, CSC South Bay's mission is to uplift and strengthen people impacted by cancer by providing support, fostering compassionate communities, and breaking down barriers to care. Our vision is that everyone impacted by cancer receives the support they want and need throughout their experience. We serve the South Bay, Long Beach, and Orange County area all at no cost. Our program includes support groups, networking groups, healthy lifestyle classes, social activities, and educational programs like this workshop. Educational programs are open to all. If you'd like to hear more about our services or join a community, please visit our website at cscsouthbay.org. Before I introduce today's speaker, we ask you to keep your microphone muted to eliminate any distracting background noise for the oral presentation part. Please feel free to enter any general questions you have into the chat function found at the bottom of the Zoom window at any time. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our workshop speaker. Melissa Rosen is Sharsheret's Director of Training and Education. She holds a master's degree in Jewish Communal Service from Brandeis University and has been working in the nonprofit sector for over 35 years. Her work has allowed her to facilitate unique and lasting connections among organizations in the diverse American nonprofit community. She's herself a two-time cancer survivor, and she's passionate about the Jewish community and cancer support and advocacy. Thank you so much, Melissa, for being here with us today.
It is my pleasure to be here. My pleasure. Welcome, everybody. So, as you said, I'm Melissa Rosen. I'm the Director of Training and Education at Sharsheret. I've been with Sharsheret for almost 12 years now. And just very quickly, a little bit about Sharsheret. Sharsheret is actually the Hebrew word for chain, as in we're all links in the chain of support. We're an international nonprofit organization that supports anyone impacted by breast cancer, by ovarian cancer, anyone facing heightened risk. And while our sweet spot is Jewish women and Jewish community, because everybody deserves culturally nuanced cancer support, our programs are absolutely open to all. They're free and open to everybody. And like you mentioned, I'm also a two-time cancer survivor. So including breast cancer, which happened about 12 years ago. And so I know firsthand that survivorship is not an easy endeavor, right? We think the completion of treatment leaves us free and clear, solely a reason to celebrate, a weight lifted. But it's hard, isn't it, right? No doctor or nurse always available to address our concerns. The issue of long-term side effects from either the cancer or the cancer treatment, and frankly, the fear of recurrence. And then another thing that we don't think about so much, there's just so much time, right? Cancer treatment it takes a lot of our time. And in a way that can distract us from thinking about what's happening. But when treatment ends, we're left with all of this time to finally process what we've been through. We've just gone through something really traumatic. Literally every day was just about survival. And most of us don't have the time, the energy, the ability to address the larger issues that a diagnosis brings on. Survivorship is often when that processing occurs. I think we're not wired to take both physical and emotional hits at the same time. So we lead with the physical just to survive. It's what we need to do. We rally for surgery, for chemo, and then the physical strain or the worst of the physical strain is done, and it's time for us to address the emotional. But the people around us, they think when it's done, it's done. We're beginning to look better, maybe even healthy. We have more energy. but our insides may not match our outsides, right? Friends and family think things will return to normal. We know the truth. The truth is it's a new normal, and there's still a lot to process. We're still dealing with side effects and with fear. We're regaining our energy, and that takes a while. And we're putting our lives back together, and it takes real effort, right? Relationships may have transformed, our personal goals may have changed. And I'm pretty sure that everybody goes through this, their priorities shift in some way. As I travel the country and speak with women, I have conversations with them about their experiences and about life-altering events. And you know what's interesting? When we consider transformational events, we typically think of the big occasions: marrying, having a child, an illness, death. But we should not only count on these events to transform our lives. Every day, we're faced with thousands of junctures that, depending on how we react, how we behave, how we think, can transform our lives, right? In a moment's breath, we can change our lives and the lives of the people we love. And what I hope for all of you, and what I've tried to learn to do, is to be more aware of these moments, right? The little things, and transforming the ordinary, routine aspects of our lives into life-altering events, right? I think what I'm getting at is the real question is, how do we go from cancer patient to survivor? Or maybe more appropriately, cancer patient to thriver, someone who is thriving post-cancer or thriving while living alongside cancer. And I'm going to suggest that this is how. We take the liberty to change, or better yet, to reframe our stories, which isn't really an easy thing to do. We tend to tell our own stories the very same way over and over again. We're afraid of losing something. So we hold on to these stories because the future can seem frightening. But we need to speak to the person we were on the day we were diagnosed and remind that person of all we have learned, right? We've gained strength and courage. We've changed our priorities, so many things. And then we need to speak to ourselves 20 years from now. We need to remind ourselves of the unknowns of survivorship that we faced and how we blossomed. We were brave and faced challenges. We made a difference in this world, so those who are close to us and maybe even to the world as a whole. And we faced each ordinary moment with grace and made wonderful memories. So I just want to say, you know, it's lovely if we could always do that, but nobody can always do that, right? I know I certainly didn't face each individual moment with grace, but I did make wonderful memories, even during some of the worst times of my life. I was able to change my story, and that's made all the difference. As I said, I'm a 2-time cancer survivor. I had Hodgkin's disease, how many years ago? Maybe 30 years ago at this point. And because of my treatment for Hodgkin's, I was diagnosed with breast cancer about 12 years ago. In my community, I was the expert on cancer, not once, but twice. That was my story, my sad story. That's what people knew about me. But I've been able, after lots of hard work, to let that part of my psyche go. Of course, I'm still a cancer survivor. Nothing's going to change that. And I certainly do not neglect my health. I absolutely do all the appropriate follow-up. The part I've released is the woe is me. And when it was happening, my goodness, there was a lot of woe is me. but I've been able to use my cancer experiences for good. Now I work to support those facing a similar diagnosis, right? And each one of us can do that by offering peer support. And I educate women about how to be proactive about their health. Now, I accept the side effects and the daily injustices to my body as simply individual moments and not who I am as a whole. A cancer survivor is not who I am. It's just one of the things I happen to be. And that's not always so possible when we're right in the middle of it. But once we're able to get away from active treatment or constant treatment, we have the opportunity to remember that cancer survivor, cancer thriver is just one of the things that we are, right? We're so many other things. Maybe we're a spouse or a partner, a parent, a daughter, a grandparent, an athlete, a poet, whatever it is. And many of those things, I'm sure, and much, much more. That's so important. And yes, a cancer survivor, but again, just one of many, many things. Reframing our stories allows us to change the way we look at our lives and the way, even more importantly, we live our lives. When my kids were younger, sometimes they would come home from school and talk about their horrible day. We would talk more, and it came down to maybe 10 bad minutes as a friend rebuffed them or they tripped at recess. And I worked really hard to change their mindset. They didn't have a bad day. They had a bad few minutes. What was the rest of their day like? Did they ace a test, make a new friend? Were they kind to somebody? Right? And that's what I want us to remember, not about the day, but about our lives. Yes, cancer is definitely a low point in our lives, an unexpected and difficult challenge, but it's only one part of our lives. And our lives can still be joyous, meaningful, impactful, and so many other adjectives, even when we've had to deal with this challenge. Maybe it's that we have a faulty understanding of time, right? There are stressful events, the sad times, they tend to be at the forefront of our minds. We can't help it. We worry. Will this be my new norm? Is this it? Will my child's friend continue to shun her? Will my cancer reappear? We catastrophize. That's what humans do. But that's not really an accurate conception of time. We all live, healthy or not, within the passage of time. It's the human condition, right? And it's important to remember that as we live, our moments can be two different things. They can be temporally based, in other words, by the clock or the calendar, or they're spiritually based. And moments that are temporally based, they pass and they're gone forever. The moments you were going through chemo, the last birthday you had, whatever it is. But when we focus our thoughts and energies on the past and the future, we miss the moment that we're living in right now and all the potential opportunities it presents. Moments that are spiritually based, and when I say spiritually, I want you to think of that in the most liberal way possible. I'm not talking about religiously, and I'm not talking about sitting and meditating necessarily. But when we think about the bigger picture, our place in the bigger picture, the world around us, those are spiritual moments. Everybody has them. And the moments that are spiritually based are transported to sort of an eternal place, right? Spiritual moments don't pass and are gone. Right? Life seen this way is one long path of creating meaningful moments which will really last forever. The pleasures and experiences get passed along to our children and their children, to other family members and to friends. And that's how we make meaningful moments last. Most life-changing opportunities are unplanned, and so we have to seize those moments. In Judaism, when someone passes, we make visits to relatives' homes. They're called shiva calls. And one of the things that happens is at shiva calls is you sit and you listen to the person who's mourning talk about whoever passed. And you know what? We don't tend to hear about big transformational moments in a person's life. People share the day-to-day routines, the moments that made them smile, that defined a person's character, right? Unfortunately, we can't control how we'll be remembered or what happens to us in life, but what we can we can't control our friends' memories, our family's memories. I think my parents, and think about this in your own lives, I think my parents would be appalled at the things I remember and the things that I've forgotten. My spontaneous memories of my family are not the big things, but the small things. I remember nothing about my sister's bat mitzvah day, except for the fact that she got peanut butter on her dress before we left for synagogue. I remember playing in the back of a family station wagon on the long drive to Disney World from New Jersey, but I don't have one memory of Disney World itself, right? It's the minutia that makes us smile, the everyday moments that weren't planned, that I find beauty in, that I take comfort from. And I hope that you can think of those moments in the same way, right? It's really interesting how, as humans, we use time, right? You pull up a calendar and we take 365th part of each year, right? One day of each year, we outline it in red marker. We call it birthday. Maybe other days are defined as anniversary, vacation, Christmas, whatever it is, remembrance days. And each is appropriately designated for happiness, relaxation, sadness, whatever. Instead of learning how to merge our lives with its flow, we seem to prefer, it seems to be easier for us as people to relate to it in bits and pieces. And instead of kind of realizing that it's all one big totality of time, we focus on the small, heavily bordered segments to which we can ascribe some unique quality or function. I think as humans, we're looking for specialness, and so we assume everything else is just unworthy of our attention, our energy, but I don't think that's how we really are. Or maybe, but only on the surface, right? If we dive deeper, we'll find that the truly satisfying areas of our lives, the things we value most, are the routine, perpetual parts, right? And treatment for cancer, there's nothing routine and hopefully not perpetual about that. Consciously, we strive, we seek the special, but I think subconsciously, our deepest strivings are for the regular, for the ordinary. Sharsheret used to host a monthly support group for women living with advanced breast cancer. And during one of those meetings, the women were discussing the fears they had in not making it to their children's milestones. And one really special woman shared that she had been diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer while pregnant, and she remembered just praying to live until the baby started walking. She didn't want her husband left to care for all of the other children and a newborn. She then noted to the group that was 9 years ago, and since then, she was alive to see that baby take his first steps, to learn to speak, to grow teeth, to lose teeth. She had the joy of watching this child develop friendships and see the kindness in his interactions. She realized she was no longer spending her energy worrying about the milestones. She embraced the regular, the routine, the day by day. She decided not to live to make it to the joy of a milestone, but instead to live to see the joy in every day. right? The only thing that gives time meaning is how we spend it. Is it possible for us to live our lives in a way where we can be aware of every second that passes? No. Can you imagine if every minute was focused and thought through, and if we were truly present? I don't think it's possible for us to achieve that, and it would put way too much stress on us to try, right? That's not exactly the goal I've been talking about. But what I think is that we live our lives as if we're trying to do that, right? As much as we can do that and not beat ourselves up when that doesn't happen, because there are times every day where that doesn't happen. The goal is to have times every day that it also happens, right? To respect each moment, because it truly does have the potential to be beautiful, to be great. There will be moments every day that aren't great, but we don't want to pressure ourselves. That's the exact opposite of what we want. We must utilize the time we have and respect and cherish that we are fortunate to have it to use. Each moment, like as I want to finish talking and maybe we can have a conversation about this. So each moment can present a lifetime of opportunities. To take control of our lives, the first place to start is with time. Where have we placed the hours of our day? How are we filling our time? With mindlessness or with being mindful? When we have a spare moment in our day, how are we using it? Are we taking the time to catch up with our kids, our partners, parents, siblings, friends? Are we taking time for ourselves to replenish when we have that time? You can define the moment. Instead of seeing things as good or bad, you can embrace the challenge. You can reframe any moment. I am sure you can recite your life chapters, but I guess one of the questions I want to ask is, can you rewrite some of those chapters? Can you change the direction of your story? For 20 years, actually closer to 30 now, I was a cancer survivor. And I hate to admit it, but at times it may have been my primary identity. I rewrote the story, and now I am so much more. I have the opportunity, we all have the opportunity to do this every day. Life is precious, and in a very real sense, we all have the same amount of time today. I wish all of us the wisdom and insight to embrace the ordinary and seize everyday moments that we have been granted. I would love for me not to be spotlit anymore, for us to open up and have everybody on the screen. Feel free to turn your cameras on if you're comfortable doing that, and if not, leave them closed, but let's talk. Put something, unmute and say something. Put something, I'm sorry, I'm just changing locations because I had a glare. Put something in the chat if you'd prefer to do it that way. But I'd love for us to talk a little bit about how what I talked about resonated, felt for you. Was it comfortable? Did it feel like the right direction? Are there challenges to that make it harder than I, not that I've ever said it's easy, but make it harder than you think it might be? What do you think?
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Melissa.
Absolutely.